candles. They're handy to use for meditation. Let's think about candles for a minute. How were candles made? Well, first, with candles today, as well as in the past, there needed to be a suitable solid fuel to make them. And as it started out, when fire was first discovered, people would use a campfire to warm themselves, to cook, and for light and protection at night. The main fuel for a campfire was, of course, wood, and for thousands of years, this was the only way to light up the night. At least 5,000 years ago, the Egyptians had created small lamps out of clay that had been hardened in a fire. And generally, these lamps had two holes in them, a large one for the center for filling the lamp, and with oil, and a smaller one in the spout portion, which would be inserted with a cotton woven wick to burn the oil. And these would burn for quite a while, and they put out quite a bit of light in a darkened room. This is a copy of a first century lamp from Israel, and it was actually made in Israel. Not only did the Egyptians use these, but also the people of the Holy Land, the Roman Empire, and the whole Middle East. Surprisingly, in 3000 BC, it's believed the Egyptians were the first to create candles out of beeswax. I wouldn't have thought that. These candles were basically much like those we have today. So candles were made from basically a solid or semi-solid material such as beeswax, or even paraffin, with the addition of a wick positioned through the center. The beeswax was poured into molds that had a wick surrounded in the center and allowed to harden. It was just that simple. It was easy to make them. So now I'm going to talk about modern candles. As you can see, although all candles serve the same purpose, they don't always appear the same. They come in different colors. I have a few here to look at. This is a box of colored candles here. You can see you can get any color candle that you like. Some are red, some olive, some yellow, some black, some white. In fact, any color you can think of has probably been made into a candle. For years, the most common candle are usually 12 to 15-inch tapers, and they're the ones found in candlestick holders. They also come in different sizes. Some are thin, some thick, some taller, some short, some twisted. Some are only 4 inches tall with a diameter of 5/16 of an inch for birthday colors, cakes, or maybe menorahs. And some of the candles were decorative and of different colors mixed with such. At Christmas, they had decorations such as ribbons or cutouts or foil around them. And don't forget the tea light candles that we use a lot of every day. So basically, I'm describing all kinds of shapes, sizes, colors, and designs of candles. Candles are interesting. They are just a material object. They're made with definite purpose in mind, and in someone's mind, they created the mental image of the candle and produced it by bringing all the physical objects together that are capable of supporting a flame for a given amount of time. Let's look at these candles. Even though they're all different, they serve the same purpose. If a candle were made out of copper or iron, it could not support a flame. They had to be made from specific materials to host the flame. Okay, let's light one. Try not to drip it all over. As you can see, this candle is capable of supporting fire. It will burn for several hours before the fuel is spent, and then the flame will go out. All these candles will perform in like manner. What is interesting about this is that the candles are separate material objects. Yet the fire that you see burning on the wick is not a material object. It's the same fire that is present on all of them. Let's look at this. We used a lighter which was ignited by a spark and shared this flame with the candle. Now we can take another candle and we have two flames, but they're not separate flames. Candles are separate, but the flame is the same one that's on both of them. It's the same flame that's everywhere. I can light many candles from this, and they're all separate, but they'll all share the same fire, the same flame, because there's only one fire. It's not a physical thing at all. If two or more come together in this flame, the two become one. The intensity of light becomes brighter. Interesting, when we separate the candles, the one flame becomes many. No matter what shape or color the candle is, it still has the same flame. They're all the same. Where does the flame come from? And where does it go? Let's use the lighter to see. Well, that one didn't want to give it up. Make too much of this. Okay. Okay, now. We lit the candles with the lighter, so the flame must be close to them. And let's see how close the flame is to the candles. It can be anywhere. It's even over here. It's the same flame is going to be on this candle. It's here, and it's here too. So, right by the candles, but it's everywhere else. And you can see it's over here. It's over here. It's right with me. I don't want to be closer than that, but it is. Okay. One flame appears to be everywhere at once. Everywhere. Simultaneously, and it can appear in two places at once, with no limits as to the distance apart, yet it is the same flame. What if we were to put that candle underwater? The flame would naturally go out. What if we were to take the candle up into the atmosphere that surrounds the earth where there's no oxygen? Again, the candle would go out. It's interesting. It appears that the one flame is present only in the very air that we breathe. We are surrounded by it at all times. And how can this be? How can we be surrounded by fire? If we would ignite, wouldn't we? No. Flame only ignites when there's fuel to support it and is introduced to a spark. The spark gives life to the candle. And that's the interesting part of it. So my theory is that the flame is present potentially everywhere in the air around us that we breathe, but yet we can't see it unless a candle or something similar is ignited. The flame is here in potential at all times, everywhere. And when the proper conditions are met, it will manifest. So, even though we can't see the flame that was around the candle, it is still around us. And where does it go when the candle is put out? It goes to exactly the same place it was. It was right there where the candle is. That flame is still on the candle, but you can't see it because it isn't ignited. That flame is out there. That flame is everywhere. The physical object is here, but not the flame. The flame, and we can bring it back, just as simple as that. It's even interesting that if a candle is misformed, broken, or doesn't burn as well as others, that it has the same quality. The same quality of the flame as the perfect ones. The flame is always perfect, no matter where it manifests. It only appears different when the object manifesting the flame is damaged or unable to burn at its full potential. The candles are made from material objects found on the earth, and the flame is not a material object so it must be of spirit. All the candles are made properly and when lit contain only one flame. It was there before we lit the candle. It was there before we made the candle. The candles are separate, but the flame is not. The flame manifests through the candles, but is not part of the candle. It just manifests through. The flame only comes into that material candle when the conditions are right, and it'll stay there as long as the candle is capable of supporting that flame. But when the fuel runs out and the candle is damaged extensively, the flame vanishes. The flame is not part of the candle, and when the flame is gone, the candle is discarded. The flame reappears again when another candle or object is capable of manifesting. It's easy to understand that we can create a new candle and the same flame will manifest. That's interesting, isn't it? The only difference being the personality of the candle being its color, its size, its shape, and the various decorations. Where it was made, and some of them have since. Even though the candles are different, and even though they're all separate, the same flame burns in all of them, but is not part of them. Did you realize that everything I've said here so far about candles and the flame is exactly the same thing as the human body and the personality? Everything is operating the same. Our body is a candle and our soul is a flame. The same fire we see on candles also burns in a light bulb, a flashlight, a heating coil on a stove, a furnace, or any other object that can emit light and heat. The fire that is all around us and cannot be seen is the same as the electricity and the radio waves that are all about us, which cannot be seen either. They are the same essence as that of the fire. They all manifest through objects, but they are not part of the object. Radio waves manifest through an object such as a radio or television that is designed to receive these frequencies and make use of them. Electricity is the same. It too is all around all the time, but only manifests through the movement of a wound copper wire moving rapidly across a magnet. Magnets have that unseen force, and it can be transferred inside an electrical wire by bringing the wire close to the magnet and moving it across the magnet. The more windings of copper wire and the speed of rotation determines the amount of electricity or energy that is accumulated. And I use the word accumulated instead of generated, because energy cannot be created or destroyed. So it's always there. It's just the same as fire. It's all around us all the time. Again, the electricity turns the motor, runs a fan, or any other object using the electrical current, and is not a part of that object. It manifests through the object. The flame is not in these light bulbs. Edgar Cayce said, and as the electrical vibrations are giving, know that life itself, to be sure, is the creative force, or God, yet its manifestations in men are electrical or vibratory. Know then that the force in nature that is called electrical or electricity is the same force that you worship as the creative or God in action. And that's from Edgar Cayce's reading number 1299-1. He was a brilliant man too, as well as able to do many psychic feats. And maybe there's more than to Genesis 2:7 than what appears on the surface. And the Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Perhaps we are like the candles. We all seem separate and different, but we're all connected by one thing, and that's the breath. which is all around us all the time. Breath is common to all of us, and without it, we could not live. It manifests through us, but it's not a part of our physical body. It enters, it leaves, and it was within. It has within it that divine spark, which we call God. We all share that piece of God. The divine spark is when within us all, even though we appear to be separate. John 10:34 says, Jesus answered them, "Is it not written in your law, I said, ye are gods?" We all have that same flame, that same spark of God within each of us. We share it as a candle shares a flame. But we are separate in physical objects, and the makeup of our physical object bodies is different. No people have the same tooth fingerprint, nor do they have the same personality. Physical makeup of the body and the different capabilities of the brain and the DNA are the deciding factor in the personality that manifests through that physical body. When a spark of life or seed is united with an egg, the DNA of both combine. No two people have the same DNA. That DNA of a person is much like the frequency to which a radio dial is tuned. The radio can only receive a particular channel or frequency that it's been manufactured to receive. The personality of that radio signal usually comes through that device. Other frequencies or personalities do not come through that radio. Also, as I mentioned before, when the old radio wears out, it's discarded. But the same signal that was in that radio can come through a brand new radio. That's the same process as a reincarnated individual. Our physical universe is based on the principle of natural law. Everything abides by the same rules of nature. When you throw into water, you expect that there's going to be ripples. And by learning how natural law manifests in the physical objects of the world that we live in, we can determine how spirit, which we cannot see, manifests and exists. As above, so below, and as below, so above. It's the same. Jesus spoke in parables. He spoke of great things to the masses, although for most, they took him as literal stories. Jesus really understood God, and Jesus understood natural law. God did not try to hide anything from us. God put it right out in the open. All we have to do is look. As we know a man by his ways, we also know God by the world that he created for us. Anybody can do it. Just still your mind. Concentrate on what you want to know and allow yourself to go into meditation. Remember that the useful part of the meditation is very much the same as when you awaken in the morning when you're lying in bed. Not awake, not asleep, but in between. That's where you'll receive a lot of insight. We receive insight in dreams, and this is the same place you want to be when meditating. It is created the same way. Slow the mind, and it will automatically drift into that astral, dreaming world of the subconscious. It is there to receive your insights, your intuitions, and answers. I present to you thoughts, theories, and comparisons for your consideration. I do not insist that you accept any of it, but you take what you need. Pursue it further in your own personal time and draw your own conclusion. This is how we learn. It's only when thought is shared and considered by others that we can come to our own personal truth. Your truth is your truth, not anyone else's. As Jesus always said, he who has ears, listen. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and I look forward to speaking with you again. I extend to you my blessings and unconditional love.